Mike Woodson has picked up a victory over Matt Painter, likely for the last time these two will meet. And what an interesting, weird game this was. Purdue jumped on Indiana in the first half. Purdue held a 12-point lead at the beginning of the second half, and Indiana erased it immediately. They went Atlanta Falcons Tom Brady 28-3 in the first 10 minutes of the second half. I've never seen anything like this against a Matt Painter team. I've certainly never seen anything like this from a Mike Woodson Indiana team. But good Lord, they just dominated them in every facet to start this second half. Ultimately, Indiana gets a 73-58 win over Purdue. They outscored the Boilermakers 48-21 in the second half of this ball game. Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn, respectfully, were disasters. Neither one hit double digits scoring in this game. Fletcher Lawyer did have 20 points. Miles Colvin had 11 off the bench. Honestly, for one of the first times all season, I thought the Purdue role players gave Purdue great things, and the Purdue Stars let them down massively. On the flip side, Indiana had a balanced attack. Mackenzie Mbako torched Purdue in the first game in Mackey and barely played in this game. He played 9 minutes and didn't score. Umar Ballo came off the bench, but I think the strings that Mike Woodson pulled in this game proved to be the correct ones. Anthony Leal, 35 minutes. Luke Goody, 33 minutes. Miles Rice, 31 minutes, and he spit out a solid performance. I don't know what to make of it or how we got here, Cart, but somehow, some way, Indiana evens the series with Purdue this season. What's your takeaway?
Yeah, there's a little bit of level of shock to this that I live in a world where Trey Galloway, Miles Rice, and you could even make an argument that Anthony Leal outplayed Braden Smith. Like that's the world we live in. And I can't believe that happened. And it's a it'd be a tough pill for me to swallow as a Purdue fan with this happening the way it happened because it was a lot of Indiana just at the rim. They could get layups whenever they wanted. Malik Renew didn't miss a shot from the field. He was 7 for 7 in his 24 minutes. It was free reign there. Free layups, free reign whenever he wanted to. They got destroyed in the pick and roll. Trey Galloway had 9 assists in this basketball game to 2 turnovers. They just got whatever they wanted offensively, and that stretch run where in the second half Indiana was outscoring them 28-3. I mean, even to extend that more, like a 5 more minute stretch, Purdue had 8 points and 9 turnovers alone in the second half. Purdue turned the ball over 16 times in this game, and for most of the portion of the second half, they had more turnovers than made field goals. They completely fell apart. They completely lost their composure. They were getting no stops. It was kind of baffling to see. And I mean, credit to Indiana for what they did, obviously, because they smelled blood and they realized that Purdue couldn't stop them at the hoop. And Purdue had no response whatsoever. None. They didn't leave the locker room at halftime.
Yeah, that's the interesting part of this. It's not that Indiana won the game. It's the way this flipped on a dime at
You were
half.
you were you were up 12 at half.
Purdue was the better basketball team definitively in the first half. And I don't know what exactly happened at halftime. I don't feel like Indiana ran any major scheme changes. I really don't. I just think they came out and played really hard. And Purdue didn't to me for the first time maybe in a long time. I don't know. I don't know what you do here if you're Purdue. Like where do you point the finger first? Because I think there are some people that want to point it at Painter. There's some people that want to point it at officials. There's some people that want to point it at Braden Smith or Trey Kaufman-Renn or both. Who deserves the first finger point here?
I got to point it at the best players, I think. So in this game, in a rivalry game, Braden and TKR no show. And with great power comes great responsibility. Braden Smith is too good of a player to play the way he played in this game and for Purdue to win. That's not how this team is put together, whether that's his fault or not. Maybe you can point to the fact that that's part of this issue is the way Paint built this roster and how it flows and how it helps his best players and uplifts his best players. I think you're getting to a point where it has hit a crossroad where you are kind of feeling the implications of what you did in the offseason or what you didn't do in the offseason with how this roster is built. And part of that's not his fault either, because obviously Jacobson breaks his leg the second game of the season. That's something you can't control. But outside of that, you put so much on Braden's plate. You play him 40 minutes a game and you need so much from him. And this is back-to-back games with 6 turnovers. And he was just flat out bad in this basketball game. And this Purdue team goes as he goes because he's the best. He's the Big Ten player of the year. He's the best player in the Big Ten. He's one of the best point guards in the country. They need him to play to that level, and he did not in this game.
Yeah. I I am trying to diagnose why. Because obviously this was a disaster performance from Braden. He kept hunting that little baseline fadeaway, but those are tough shots, and they weren't easy. They weren't good shots, especially when you're already now down 10 in the second half and you're just hunting contested twos. Um, like 6 turnovers. This is back-to-back games with 6 turnovers for Braden. Crazy. We've rarely ever seen that. He has 3 games with 6 turnovers since January 31st. He had 0 before that game. He had 6 turnovers in both games against Indiana. Is this just literally, Braden, you need to be better? And is he capable of doing that? Or has this hit a wall? Is it fatigue? Like why is the best point guard in the country struggling so loudly in the last 3 games?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think there's some physicality to it that I think teams have implemented in these past couple games where they realize what Braden is to this basketball team. And there's so much pressure put on him. Um, and I think that they are doing a great job of that. And then, when TKR catches it down low in the post, I think there's teams setting doubles. And, there's teams throwing different looks at TKR that are throwing him off his game. And once that happens, it makes it tough. And, I thought in the first half, even though Braden wasn't scoring, I thought he was doing a great job of getting people involved. And Fletcher Loyer was getting open shots. But in the second half, he just looked kind of lost. And I don't know whether to put that up against like the physicality of what Indiana was able to do, or Braden just trying to do too much. I mean, I do think he has a tendency to leave his feet when he passes a lot, and I understand that's sometimes to make a better angle. I think people have this negative connotation about leaving your feet. Sometimes you got to leave your feet to make a pass, but the turnovers are just killing this team, and a lot of the tough shots that he was making, when those don't go down, there's really no I think counter right now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I am worried that fatigue might be part of this. I mean, he's played 40 minutes, 39 minutes, 36 minutes in the last 4 games. We talked in the Michigan game about how he never comes off the floor, and arguably that's the best thing about him. It's the best thing about him when it shows no signs of fatigue, right? But like if there's real fatigue, in the offseason, I said I wanted like 32 minutes a game from Braden, and I'd be happy with that. And instead, they went balls to the wall, going for a first team All American, going for Big Ten championships. And Braden's quote was, "Look, me on the floor gives us the best chance to win. I never want to come off the floor." That's great. You on the floor right now is not leading to the results you want. You've lost 4 straight games. You never come off the floor. You look gassed in big moments, and look, if there's any silver lining here, you're not in the Big Ten race anymore. Let's get our feet back underneath us here. Let's rest a little bit. Let's make sure that TKR and Braden feel fresh coming into the postseason play. Um, I think that honestly could help this team make a March run more than it would have trying to backdoor your way into a Big Ten championship that was unlikely to begin with.
Right. I mean, in the last 5 games, Braden's been in single digits scoring 3 times. And I
Yeah.
know he had the big assist games when he was in single digits, but the assists are great. And I this is where I'm at. I feel so bad harping on the assists, but like they need They need more. Like they need more. That he needs to score the basketball. They need it. They need it all. That's how this team is made up. Like someone has to get it to TKR so he can go score. Like you have to score for yourself. You got to get Fletcher in the spots that he needs. You got to get CJ Cox in the spots that he needs it. You need to get everyone the ball in the spot that they need it. Oh, and by the way, too, we need you to be great and score the ball offensively. That's what it is. That's the predicament they're in. And he probably is gassed. Like, like in defense of Braden, like these in this game, I thought it was a better job of like Fletcher actually shooting the ball when he got it. But the past couple of games, if I'm Braden, I'm pulling my goddamn beard hairs out because I'm doing all this working hard as hell to get you a look, and you're passing up shots to go drive in and flop around. Like, and that's another thing that we need to talk about outside of like the players in general. There seems to be an overall just frustration amongst the team, pain, everyone. That's just like, this is what is happening. This, like, we have lost four straight. We we blow a 12-point lead against our rival. There's just a lot going wrong for them right now.
Yeah.
And also, it comes down to this. We can talk all we want offensively, too, and that is a part of it. They can't get a stop at the rim. TKR is a non-defender. Caleb First is a non-factor defender. Those guys are not that they are not good defensively.
Yeah.
It is layup drills, especially when you're going to play teams that have front courts like Indiana.
You're right. Yeah. I want to give the Boilers in the Stands guys credit for this. But in the new year, since January 1st, Purdue is dead last in the country in 2-point percentage defense. This team, Cart, you look at the other teams, they're allowing teams since January 1st, this is 2 months now. Teams are shooting 60% from 2-point range against this team. That is worse than Maryland Eastern Shore, who is 0-9 since New Year in the MEAC. Columbia, who is 1-10 in the Ivy League. Like everyone else that is this bad in this category is the worst team in their mid-major conference. And Purdue somehow, because of what else they're good at, has been able to overcome this issue. But yeah, the idea of this Purdue defensive fix where, oh, it doesn't matter if teams get layup lines against us. We're just going to pressure you on the perimeter. Number one, you've stopped forcing turnovers. Indiana had 7 total turnovers in this game, so you didn't do that. They shot 24 for 35 from 2. All their shots came from inside. They shot 69% from down there. And I think you think about it, like when I'm talking about fatigue with Braden right now, the way they want to play defensively, the way they have to play defensively is extremely high effort, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're asking Braden Smith to run around, flying around, going for steals every possession.
I talked a lot last year, and most people bring this up. They talk about what Edey meant to that team defensively. Also, me, hand up here, I made a lot of jokes at Lance Jones' expense. That dude helped so much for everyone else defensively, what he could bring to that basketball team. And they don't have that guy this year.
Yeah,
And they're looking for a true freshman to do that and be that guy. And with all that's not even fair to CJ Cox.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what you do. Um, how much of the story of this game was just Indiana playing well versus what Purdue did poorly? Because I think Indiana did play well.
I think Indiana did play well. I think Indiana also did a great job. Once again, credit to Woodson. Look at Woody just pulling strings in his last hoorah. I think he straight up identified that this team could not stop them going to the hoop. And whether it was pick and rolls or just throwing it straight up down low to those guys, I think they were able to. And also, like, guys just made shots too. I think Indiana had some guys step up in a big rivalry moment. They lost the first one. They maybe thought they should have won. And they had guys knock down shots.
Yeah.
They almost once again, I don't know how many times Purdue's done this year. They once again give up 50 second half points. Sorry, 48 in this one, but they come out and they just whether they wear down or whatever it is. You look at the Wisconsin game. just open season. This game, they're just giving up these the Ohio State game they lost earlier. They're just giving up 50-point second halves.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it was turnovers too, right? Braden had a lot of those backcourt turnovers, and it felt like Indiana like made that initial 10-0 run or whatever largely off of like takeaways for layups and dunks and ones. So,
Mhm.
again, Purdue's a team, given what they do defensively, they are so predicated on winning the turnover battle. And if I mean, they turned it over 9 more times than Indiana did in this game. They're not going to win many games like that. Um, Look, I think we could pick at like identity problems for Purdue, pick at their, the struggles they have defensively, 2 point wise, the limitations of their role players, whatever. We can also give Indiana praise if you want for showing up and playing well. Woodson praise for playing the right guys here. I think all are true and all contributed to this. The other thing that's hanging over this whole thing is the most interesting part of this for me, and we've alluded to it recently. Purdue fans have started to turn on this a little bit from what I've seen on the internet.
Mhm.
The whiny nature of their stars. Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, and Trey Kaufman-Renn. I tweeted it after the game. As much as they need any scheme changes, they need a mental, emotional reset. Rafael Davis said they need a players only meeting. Honestly, I'm a little worried that if they had a players only meeting, they would just watch highlights of foul calls they should have gotten that they're upset about still. I mean, these three could not be more demonstratively play to play whiny than they are. It's just the body language is a disaster. And it's not from the role players. It's not from Painter. It's from Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman-Renn, and Fletcher Lawyer. And I don't think I'm going too harsh on that. I think it's affected this team in the last 2 weeks massively. Do you agree? And what can they do about it?
No, I do agree because I think there is a somewhat of like players on this team, whether they even want to or not, they look to their best player in times that things aren't going well. And the first thing you see when things aren't going well is your best players like visibly letting calls affect them. It permeates throughout the team, and the fact that it's the three best guys on the team that are doing it makes it even worse. I mean, and I think it permeates throughout the team. Like Caleb First, every foul he got this game, it was just hands up in the air. Oh my God, like that you fouled him. You were fouling him. You were grabbing. TKR, same thing. You just elbowed somebody in the face. That's a foul. It's I don't know. And look, I think that certain players on Purdue, like you can have one guy be like that. To have it be all three and all three of those guys be your best player, it's going to be hard to win games. You can win games though because those three guys can be really, really good. But when the chips aren't stacked in their favor, it seems to be permeating throughout the team.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm worried about it as much as I'm worried about anything else. As much as I'm worried about the 2 point defense, as much as I'm worried about the role players right now, I am worried that there is a mental breakdown happening on the fly for the core guys on this team. Now, I actually want to say this. Kaufman-Renn, I thought, handled the adversity the best in this game. And that sounds crazy on a night where Fletcher had 20 points, but like, I don't know. I thought TKR, he had that flagrant call, and I thought he was gonna like throw the ball into the stands and freak out after that. He kind of just like took it, went to the bench, and was trying to process. Braden, I thought was all over the place. And again, I love Braden. I know he listens to this program, and I don't mean to dog the kid, but like visually, I don't feel like I'm watching the same guy right now. And I don't know what the cause of that is, if he's worn down, if he's frustrated. I think it's literally just that he's an intense competitor. And this team's falling short right now, and they're learning how to deal with this. For the first time since Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer have been at Purdue, they're not winning everything. This is the first time. I mean, you can single out the one game elimination in the tournament, but guess what? When you lose to Fairleigh Dickinson, you don't have to show up next week. So we don't see what you're going through. Right now, Purdue's losing 2 games, and we have to see them 2 days later. If they don't have it figured out, your body language is going to be exposed. You don't get to sit in your house and hide. So I'm worried that's what we're seeing on the fly. We're seeing a duo in Braden and Fletcher, and I think TKR to an extent, who thought that they were the big dogs here, who thought that they were the best team here. And they're not. And it's not even necessarily their fault. But I think they've been so shocked by the last 2 weeks that when things aren't going their way, when they're not getting calls, when they look up and Indiana's taking the ball from them and the ball just goes out of bounds, I think they just don't know how to process it. And they better figure it out because this team is what it is right now. You're out of the Big Ten race. It's over. You're not winning a championship now. So spend the next 2 weeks getting right and finding something to play for. But again, it starts with these three. It doesn't. I don't even have any criticisms for any of the role players in this game, probably for the first time all year. It all falls on the shoulders of Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer and Trey Kaufman-Renn.
Yeah, I agree.
Crazy. Woodson ends his career unless they play in the Big Ten tournament or unless, God forbid, he gets rehired. Uh, he ends his career 4-4 against Matt Painter in Painter's most successful 4-year stretch of his career, and in a 4-year stretch from Mike Woodson that was so bad that he will be fired. What does that mean to you?
That basketball's a fickle bitch.
Just not much rhyme or reason to it. Just
Yeah, but credit to Mike Woodson.
he found a way. He was sitting on Bobby Knight's actual chair that he threw. Did you like that?
No, hated that. I thought that was a massive reason why they were down 12 at half. And the minute he got up off that chair, they got to refocus a little bit.
Maybe. I kind of feel like there was some good voodoo for Indiana.
I hate you so much for getting that chair. Even though, I mean, look, credit to Woodson for winning this game. He beats Izzo this year. He beats Paint. Paint's in the post game talking about Indiana fans need to appreciate Woodson basically and act differently. Um, what a time.
What a time. It's crazy. Yeah, do you have any thoughts on the post game comments? I think Dion and I are going to do a short about it later today.
Yeah, I'll let y'all speak on it.
Okay. Now I feel like you have a thought. Can I get like 10 seconds from you on it?
I just appreciate Paint, man. Another great rallying cry.
Yeah, it was. Is there any world at all? I asked you this a week ago and you said no. Is there any world at all that Mike Woodson is coaching next year?
No,
Why not?
just no.
They've won games at Michigan State, at home against Purdue, and they've lost by one possession to Michigan and UCLA since the announcement of his firing.
I will say no still, but I'll give you this. Would be very Indiana for them to like be like Woodson's done and then bring him back.
They are projected to finish the season 18-13. If they go 18-13, that would mean they go 3-1 down the stretch. That would mean they make the tournament.
What a run.
Cart, they're 16-11. That's a half game behind 17-11 Illinois Fighting Illini this year.
And what do we think about the Illini?
Well, that's not great, but Brad
Goodbye.
Underwood's not fired as far as I know.
Goodbye, Woodson.
Okay, you're sticking with this?
Yes.
What's your optimism level that Purdue gets this right?
6 out of 10.
I'm iffier. I've held strong that this team could make a Final Four, but this is the result that shakes me. Given you've lost 3 straight games to contenders and you can't figure it out in a rivalry game
Yeah, it's not ideal
against a coach that's fired.
that you're up 12 at half.
It's the wheels have fallen all the way off, and I'm pretty terrified about it. But I guess we'll see what happens from here. Okay. All right. Congrats to Indiana, Purdue. Hang in there. To those of you looking for us on YouTube, we have been banned from YouTube for a week. We're trying to figure it out. We are worried that this may last longer given some behind the scenes issues we're dealing with right now. So if you're looking for us on a day today, you can guaranteed get us on Apple and Spotify. Every single day we'll be uploading there, and you can get our previews, recap shorts, and the full episodes for the indefinite future. Thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll be back on YouTube soon.